Okay, guys. So this morning we got the results, and at I think about 10:18, I realised it was pretty much clear that Donald Trump was going to become, quote unquote, the next president of the United States of America. And a couple of things here. Like, I've approached this whole entire situation as it's like, I don't care in terms of, I see with the Trump one or Kamala Harris one, I can only see a road of woe ahead of us as long as we keep ignoring the source of so many rooted issues. I think both parties are a symptom of a deeper malaise happening within Western democracy worldwide. That said, okay, so basically what didn't got me was that Trump came in at about 10:18. He was about sitting there at about 2:30 to 2:40. She was sitting on 138. I mean, this is not a thin marginal slice. This is not a case of Peanut the squirrel winning the elections. This is a outright landslide. And I sort of know that it was. I should have probably had more confidence in what I was seeing, but I was part of kind of pinching my skin, because as I've been travelling around the United States of America, I've seen large portions of people that are Latino or African American saying that they were going to vote for Trump, which kind of got me off guard. And the feedback again I had been picking up and noting was that the attitude was he was offering something the other team weren't. They were just saying, you're stupid for believing in him. Not a winning formula. And again, I have said previously, I feel like the Democrats actually moving towards, like Labor did, they're almost kind of like throwing this election. Clarifying, okay, now that they've got Donald Trump, what's going to happen next is the question about whether or not he actually delivers on that particular product. My feeling is that he's probably going to let down the American people, because I feel he is a president of the making of, they made a documentary, Peak Oil, where saying until America owns its issue about its addiction to oil, and that it can't keep living the lifestyle it's living, it's going to end up with more and more absurd populist presidents. And that's pretty much what Trump is. He's a reality TV. But he's also been, don't undermine that, because he's also been a long-term nominee presidential. He's been groomed for this position, and my source for that, by the way, is the book Translating History, which was written by the translator of Gorbachev during the SALT missile talks in the 1980s, where the translator makes a point about, oh look, there's Al Gore and there's Donald Trump, they've been future would-be president candidates. And that was back when Trump was always never clear, because again, people forget that there was a chance at one point then Trump was going to be a Democrat, but in Trump's own word, went, no, if I ever run for president, I'll go for the Republic, because the Republicans are stupider. That's a Trump quote. And again, I can't help but think about, when I think about Trump as the character from who's the would-be president in Citizen Kane, who basically calls his voters mooks behind closed doors. And I think that's, Trump doesn't have a very high opinion of his own voters, but he knows what they want, and he's delivered them. He's delivered them a sales pitch which has actually resonated. Whereas this morning there was a post, I think, put up by Neil Glasson, the scientist, and he was going, all the experts, historians, economists, and institutions said to believe in a fraudulent, proven, second-rate reality TV program. And I was like, that statement alone, he nailed why the Democrats lost and why they will keep losing until they actually pull the carrot out of their buttocks. Because it's that arrogance. They're constantly calling working class American, you're stupid. We've got a two-storied house and a refrigerator full of food and 2 jobs, and aren't we clever for having this advantage? We've got a university degree which you can't afford to have. You're stupid. And meanwhile, that same group that's calling those people stupid is not noticing that their pool is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, because the fact that in their progressive liberalism, there is no empathy or solidarity towards the working class. And this is what, again, the Trump and the Elon Musk camp has actually realised. They've understood the populist politics better than the Democrats have. And all the lead-up election, I had people from things like the social media page Waiheke Island talking about how Capel the blue streak and believing what they wanted to believe. Because they're saying basically arrogance, and not actually looking at the figures and saying, well, no, actually, you follow those states and you understand the Electoral College, it's actually pretty much moving in this direction. You also, through the role of Elon Musk, Elon Musk very much pitched to an under 25 audience, which again was being pivotal to a lot of these key states. And that's what but again, I think the Blue Machine failed to realise was that you don't have to win all of the election, you just have to win those key states, and more importantly, you have to win the demographics within those key states. And the reality is the Trump advisory machine, which had $109 million care of Elon Musk, were again more astute on that particular issue. They pitched to a sharper and more direct audience, and they were also in places like Arizona where there was like an audience, a population of like less than 50,000 people to win that state. And they had their candidates out there in the field going door to door. And before they went into places door to door, they were actually, examining the social media pages of those areas to look at, who, when the Mrs. Smiths played soccer, whether Junior drank Budweiser. They knew everything about the electoral before they went door knocking. Whereas again, the Blues just wandered in there and didn't do their homework, and that lack of diligence has cost them dearly. And I think they again had this idea that somehow at the last moment, the working class would, again, they were living in what they wanted to believe, they weren't looking at the hardcore facts. What it will mean, I guess, is the next question is what this will actually mean in terms of the greater world. Now, it's really intriguing because the first thing we've got to deal with is this is not just Trump winning with a slight majority and maybe controlling the House and not the Senate. This is Trumpapalooza, where they own the House and the Senate, and they will own that effectively for the next 4 years, and help people do anything that they want. So some of the crazy ideas which have passed, might have been shut down because I don't know about that, Donald. We haven't quite got the numbers to do that. That's not what's going to happen here. Trump suggested he wants to pull out of conflicts in Europe, which will basically stabilise the situation in Europe, which I think is actually a bloody good thing. And I don't think, whatever the rhetoric of again, blue liberals following the blueprint of the neoconservative. I mean, listen, again, think about this. The Blues were asking that they're trying to convince the Republicans that Bush should run instead of Trump. Like, I'm 53. I went through the whole Bush experience. You can go through all my copies of Deadlines, and there's pictures of Bush with an Adolf Hitler moustache. And so what they were asking was, they were asking old Hitler to replace new Hitler, because they completely had such political amnesia. They were drinking the Kool-Aid. Again, the pictures of Bill Clinton and George Bush playing golf together. That therein again lies in the molasses of what's at the root of this, is that we've got demographically a blue party that's actually very neoliberal underneath it all. They're very, very pro-corporate, and that's what, again, a lot of the working class voters were opposing towards. Now, again, what Trump says, I'm going to clean the swamp, and what actually happens, I don't believe it for a second. But I do believe he'll take troops out of he'll focus his interest on the American continent, which will be beneficial to cooling down the war in Europe, and will avoid, from the greater viewpoint of us, pushing us closer towards a point of a potential nuclear engagement. That's the big tick. Middle East situation yet to be decided. I think, however, I do believe that Donald Trump is very, very pro-Israeli. So again, I think that may actually encourage the Israelis. So watch this space. I know Trump's really hot in Iran. So again, that doesn't bode well. In the US, the issue is they always down to things like the fentanyl and the methamphetamine trade, which they see mostly, even though it's coming from Canada as well, they see mostly blame on Mexico. And Vanity Fair and Rolling Stone and a few other publications have actually talked about how Trump has pitched the idea about saying, well, Mexico can't sort out its crime problem, why don't we just go down to Mexico and take over Mexico and keep on going to Central America. This is a repetition of Sam Houston, the Sons of the Golden Native Sons of the Golden Western Dawn, US-American imperialism, and most people would laugh at it, except for the fact that, as Vanity Fair and Rolling Stone pointed out, it's like even Trump's senior advisors are going, that's not such a bad idea. And if you look very carefully between the lines of a lot of popular culture in America, there is this very much a strong suggestion that America should go in and teach the Mexicans lessons. And from what I saw when I was in Mexico, I could see that situation deteriorating very quickly, and that does worry me. And it's also, when you bore underneath the deep layer, it's a switch. So instead of you've got the American confronting the US, confronting the Russians in the Western Europe, what you actually have is the Americans confronting Chinese interests in Central America. And again, this can then quickly escalate and spill into a World War III situation. So between the Democrats and Republicans, we're far from out of the woods. Trade deals, I would hazard a guess that this is probably good in terms of the anti-TPPA camp. Again, Donald Trump's not interested in international trade. He's basically about building an industry for America and stopping cheap imports into the US. So from our viewpoint, because we don't actually export a lot to America, I don't think it's going to have a lot to do, impact upon New Zealand a hell of a lot. Again, Elon Musk factor is quite cool. Well, not cool, but I mean it's significant because he backed a winner. He spent 100 million into Twitter, which everyone thought he said was a terrible business model. It's terrible. He's losing money hand over fist. But his camp has now actually won the election. They've got the benefit of being siding with the winners. So probably the contracts that's going to come to Musk are going to be quite significant. So Musk's situation is he's played the long game and he's come out the winner. Again, the Blues misread that, and they spent more time dumping on him than trying to woo him over to their particular cause. The negative side of that is that we will probably see Musk become one of the world's first trillionaires. An idea of someone having that much wealth and the power that comes with it is, I think, quite frightening. Not to mention the encouragement of a culture which I find is quite toxic and out to lunch, quite frankly. Again, this is something I've hinted at long ago when I talked about the connection of all the tech world sites finding in New Zealand, meeting up with mining corporations up in Auckland on superboats, and everyone dismissed that. But again, it's that willful. No one's there's numbers, there's the trees being chopped down, but no one's wanting to see what's actually in plain sight. So that's pretty much my analysis of what's happened. I'll probably do another short video later on and actually keep adding to this particular page. So over the next couple of weeks, I'll kind of keep adding to this post. So even though I'm posting out today, if you want to keep following about what I have to say about the American elections or what's got the fallout of it, come back to my page and follow us. And hopefully we've provided you some insights for being actually here in Washington DC that you're maybe not getting elsewhere, especially when you're reading newspapers that want to tell you that they're pro-Trump or they're pro the other side, whereas I'm going, I don't have a horse in this race. I'm just trying to call it as I see it. Anyway, it has been very interesting, and thank you for following us.